What up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be talking about every leftist's favorite person, Luigi Mangione. Pre-trial has just started a few days ago, and it's going to lead to his big trial. This is a huge thing. For those of you who don't know Luigi Mangione, I find that impossible, but he is the United Healthcare CEO shooter. You may have heard about that about a year and a half ago. I feel like almost 2 years ago, the United Healthcare CEO was shot in New York City by Luigi Mangione. This has been a really interesting thing because, a lot of times when there is a shooter in the US, there's way too many of them. But when there is, they are often villainized, as they should be. But this one was a little bit different. A lot of people, both on the left and right, seem to have sympathy for this guy. As a leftist, I don't think anybody should be taking the life of anyone, but I do understand why people feel this way. And it's been a really, really interesting thing because the media, the classic media, has been trying to villainize him, and every time they get ratioed online. So he's become a very, very big figure. But the reason I'm making this video today is because apparently when he was captured, they made a 911 call to the authorities, and they're deciding whether or not to use this 911 call in court.
His attorneys are trying to get some evidence tossed out, including a handgun and notes from his backpack. One of the police officers who arrested Mangione at a Pennsylvania McDonald's last year has been testifying for several hours.
His lawyers are saying because that search was unlawful, those things that they found are no longer permissible in court. So not only is this 911 call kind of an issue, but everything else is an issue. So I just wanted to show you guys this and see what you think, man.
Luigi Mangione says he's not guilty to both state and federal charges in that murder. So today, Mangione's attorney is calling into question the use of evidence from Mangione's interaction with the Pennsylvania police officers who caught.
And so this is one thing too. Some of you may or may not know, when he was caught at a McDonald's, which is crazy because if anybody knows anything about McDonald's, you know how much illegal activity goes on there. So the fact that somebody was snitching at a McDonald's breaks the McDonald's code. It's disrespectful. I don't know about you, but I feel like when I walk into McDonald's, it's almost like the mafia, this thing of ours. You don't speak about what goes on in the McDonald's. Ultimate betrayal. But let's go on.
Now, this is the scene where that arrest happened, a Pennsylvania McDonald's 230 miles outside of that crime scene. Live now to CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman in New York. So, Katrina, what have you heard in the courtroom so far today?
Reed, it's almost like a mini trial that we're seeing in there. They're calling witnesses for these suppression hearings related to the evidence and statements that Luigi Mangione's defense attorneys do not want to come in if this goes to trial. So far, we've heard from someone from the NYPD, as well as a man who was the installation supervisor of the security cameras at that McDonald's where Luigi Mangione was arrested. We've seen all of the images that were published of the suspect.
Yeah, so, obviously McDonald's is a big corporation, so they gave them everything. As a person, I'm not so happy with McDonald's. As a person who understands what companies are, I get what they did. But they're also not mentioning the fact that when this whole manhunt for Luigi Mangione was happening, they promised a reward for finding this man. And the main reason, at least online, that people think that he was found and that the authorities were alerted was because the person that made the call wanted the money. Apparently, she made the call and she still wasn't given the money. A lot of people in the working class will work against themselves if they think they can come up individually. And because we always do that, a lot of times we still end up losing. And we would have at least been able to get something if we had solidarity. But very often we do not.
Who they believe killed Brian Thompson, that United Healthcare CEO, as well as the video of that shooting. But perhaps the most striking thing that we heard was a 911 call. That came from the manager at the McDonald's, and her conversation with the dispatcher was very interesting to hear, Reed. She called and said that at least 6 customers had walked up to her in the store and said that they were suspicious of a guy who was in there. He was sitting at a table.
6 customers snitching. That's my thing too. I did watch this clip before. I knew about the manager. I did not know about all the other people coming up to this manager and alerting them. So I will say, as far as the manager snitching, I don't appreciate it, but I can kind of understand if a bunch of people are coming up to you and being like, hey, I think this is the guy that did that thing. Maybe you should alert someone. I guess she has to abide by that. Still, at the same time, I'm disappointed in her and the 6 other people. Let's go on. This is a shame. Lack of solidarity, people. Lack of solidarity.
They said to her, he looks like the CEO shooter from New York. It's also notable that Luigi Mangione's defense attorneys did object to this. The judge said that he's allowing it in for this hearing, but it will still be in question if they go to trial, if they'll let this play.
Yeah, like I said, so they're not exactly sure what's going to be permissible in court right now. So they're still kind of trying to figure this thing out. This is a very, very high profile case. It's not just about one guy, shooting another guy. This is about one guy actively taking on the establishment. And if you ask me, this is a big reason why they really haven't, taken care of mass shootings and made stricter gun laws, right? It's because all these guys that are doing this stuff are young men, usually in high school or college age, right, who are very frustrated with the world, and they take out their frustration on the world on regular, ordinary people, But they don't realize that a lot of the reasons that they're dissatisfied with the world come from issues that all of us regular people deal with as well. When it comes to unaffordability, it comes from lacking being able to find a job, right? And so they get frustrated because they don't know their place in life, but they take it out on the wrong people. Luigi Mangione took it out on questionably the right people. A lot of people in our population, in our American society, would say he took it out on the right people. And because he did that, they're going to do anything they can to put this man under the jail. Okay? So what usually wouldn't be permissible in court, they're going to have as most likely very permissible. They're going to do a lot of shady stuff this entire time. So for any leftists who are sitting there with the popcorn waiting for this whole trial to start, get ready, man, because there's going to be a lot of headaches and it's going to be a lot of technicalities. And I'm not sure if this dude can pull it off, but more power to him.
But the manager on the phone is saying that she told the customers, I don't know what to do here, guys. She describes the person who's sitting at the table. She says he's mid-height, mid-weight. He's wearing a hoodie. He's wearing a blue medical mask, and he's wearing a beanie on his head. So we hear all of this playing out. The dispatcher ultimately tells her that an officer's on the way and to keep an eye on him. And in this footage we saw too, we see all of these police officers come into that McDonald's. We see the person sitting at the table in the back, sort of how he's cornered in near a restroom. So it's been very interesting to see all of this imagery play out.
Well, you say it's almost like a mini trial there. So you've had proximity to Luigi Mangione. Any reaction?
And what this newscaster says right there is perfect. Like, this pretrial is a mini trial in itself. This thing is so incredibly sensationalized that I will say, on top of him, affecting the right people, I think the right people, the people in power, the people who at least control media, see how salacious of a story this is and how huge of a story this is. And so they're milking it too. So it's an interesting thing because obviously the media is part of that 1%. You know what I mean? And whatever happens, whether it's with insurance or whatever, all those things, if there's any sort of, balance that occurs with, insurance or just the 1% in general, things reverberate, right? So they don't want any of the rich people losing any of their money. Yet, in order for them to make their money, they have to promote this idea and this sensationalism of this guy who's trying to take money from the rich people. So it's a conflict of interest. And it's funny to see how, this documenting this man is not in their best interest, but because of their own greed, they're acting against that in order to make a quick buck. These people really don't learn.
Action from him as he sits there and listens to all of this evidence?
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking right at him during all of this. He walked in today, he's wearing a dark gray suit, a check shirt, but he seems a lot more serious than when I've seen him in the past. His hair is short. He looks paler. He is watching intently as all of this goes on. His lawyer specifically asked that his hands be unshackled so that he could take notes, and they did allow that. So he's taking a lot of notes. He's talking to his attorneys.
Bro, look at this face. He is serious, but I feel like he also, I feel like he's fine with his fate, man. He really is. He seems like he's fine with whatever happens. Of course, every dude wants to get out, but dude, like, I will say, as you know, you'd expect a very, you know, rich white guy or whatever, as radicalized as he may be, to still be, you know, shitting his pants, right? If he's going to be in jail. But this dude he's been pretty chill with it. Let me show you this. I don't know if you've ever seen this. This Luigi Mangione, in jail. He's like, he takes a bunch of photos. Let me see if I can do it. There's a bunch of photos of him in jail, just fucking chilling. Yeah, see, exactly. Bro, look at bro right here, man. Look at bro right here, dude. Oh my gosh, hold on. Chilling. Look at that face. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a very, very interesting thing going on with him because, you know, he's kind of an old like folk hero at this point. You know, I'm not saying he's definitely paying for protection in jail, most likely. But on top of that, there's a lot of people in there who like what he's doing in the sense of like, yo, you know, whether they condone the killing or they don't, whatever, they're like, yo, he's actually trying to change some shit. All I did when I was upset at the economy was rob niggas. This dude actually went and did something. So he's a bit of a hero out there, man. He's a little bit of a hero. Look at him, just linked up right now. Look at bro, chilling, man. Absolutely relaxed. So when it comes to this whole hearing thing, of course, he's shitting the brick right now. But I also think he's a bit mentally prepared to spend the rest of his life in jail. So we'll see what happens.
He's looking very pensively at these videos and these images as they're playing on the screen, sort of rubbing his hair, touching his face. So he seems very serious today, especially compared to when I've seen him in the past, Reed.
And we're talking about the state case. Of course, we know the federal case could bring the death penalty. Are you seeing any of Mangione's family or friends there in the courtroom?
That's another thing as well, too, you know, state versus federal. So he could win the state case or get some sort of, you know, lesser charge for state. But if he's charged federally and he has you know, the death penalty on the table, that could be a very serious thing. And if you know anything about the feds never lose. They have, what is it, like a 90% conviction rate? Something crazy like that. It's very rare. I mean, even, you know, we've talked about Diddy on this channel before. Diddy is one of the few people who got off lucky. People are saying, you know, oh, he's got 3 years, he lost. Listen, he did lose. But as far as the feds go, they're trying to give you football numbers. They try to hit you with the death penalty. The fact that Diddy only got 3 years is crazy. And that's a W in my eyes, even though I don't think he deserved that W. But the same thing goes for Luigi Mangione. I mean, he's in a really, really serious situation right now. So he could win the state and then still get fucked on the federal, man. Still get fucked on the federal. But let's see.
You know, I'm not sure if any of his family or friends are there. There are a number of people from the public, but that too is much smaller than in the past. There's about 3 rows of people from the public, mostly women again. Some of them are wearing shirts with writing on them. One of them.
And this is another thing too, you know, like it sucks because we're in this internet age. So everything's a flavor of the month. And I think a lot of people care about the dude. You can throw his name randomly out there and a lot of people know him. And they're definitely siding with him. A decent amount of people are siding with him. But yeah, man, people forget. You know, there's probably somebody who made a YouTube channel dedicated to the guy and hasn't updated a video in a while. And this is the lack of solidarity that we talk about. Also, they're mentioning his family. And, you know, he's an Italian guy. A lot of Italians are very, very conservative. He came from a very well-to-do family. So I wonder how they're reacting to this whole situation, man. I mean, that's crazy. The Netflix doc about that is going to be lit.
Reed said, justice is not a spectacle. Another one said, without a warrant, it's not a search, it's a violation. A third one said that there's 11 minutes of missing body camera So he's still getting a lot of attention. We know that his defense fund has received a lot of money, but there is a smaller showing today than we've seen in the past.
The group of people following this guy is definitely a lot smaller, but they do have a real case. Another thing about him too is because it's such a high profile thing, there are going to be really great lawyers, and he probably does have a really, really good law team. And a lot of the things that those cops did when they picked him up were unlawful. So they aren't really permissible in court. So I'm really excited and a little scared to see what's going to happen. Probably just like you guys. So let me know what you guys think. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about them putting the 911 call in the pretrial? Do you think they should have it as permissible in court? Do you think the search that they did on him should be permissible in court? How do you feel about this whole United Healthcare CEO thing? Because it is very divisive. But personally, I understand why he did it. And I'm kind of on dude's side, bro. I'm kind of on dude's side. So I'm all for class solidarity. I'm all for reform. And if they won't give us reform, then sometimes you got to make a show of it and see what happens. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.